In my marriage, I survived domestic violence. Yes, I was married to a Philadelphia police officer. And victims intend, we have a habit of protecting our abusers. Sadly, I did protect my abuser. And in the end, it caused me to have retinal detachment from the right eye. Then 3 years later, I met a Pennsylvania state trooper. And he dragged me with this Pennsylvania police car. As I stood in the middle of the road, bleeding and begging for help, he would not help me. I followed all the procedures that I was supposed to follow with the legal system. I got my protection order. My protection order was dismissed when the lieutenant came to see me in the hospital. I kept hearing from the lieutenant what a foolish mistake this trooper made by leaving me in the middle of the road. But nothing was done to the trooper. He was never reprimanded. He was never arrested. There were no charges brought up against him. The district attorney never saw me. The judge that was supposed to give me my order, which was dismissed a month later after my order was given to me, never saw the results of my injuries. This caused me to have my second retinal detachment from the left eye. For 3 years, my case was in federal court, and year after year, motion after motion, dismissal after dismissal was filed. Finally, it was ruled that, yes, he was liable, but they pushed it right back into the Lancaster, PA courts where this took place. Until today, I am still waiting so someone can hear my voice. Someone can hear what happened to me, and nothing has been done of yet.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
How long ago was this?
It will be 8 years, September 27th.
And the reason why I'm asking that question is I remember, gosh, about 30 or 40 years ago, they used to say, well, that was a family matter. And as you said, I think I heard a lot of people also say they kind of protected their abuser because it was a family matter and nobody really should get involved in their business. Matter of fact, I saw a little part of the Godfather last night, and don't ask me about my business. So, in other words, it hasn't changed.
No. Not at all. Okay. Especially, and no misunderstanding, Ms. Jordan. When it involves a police officer or a state trooper, they tend to protect their own.
Certainly.
They'll cover up every way possible to avoid, having to arrest this police officer. This is a problem Jill and I are having, that you have to stop covering up for these police officers. You have to uphold them just like you uphold everyone else. You can't keep pushing it under the rug. You just can't.
But you'll find that is the overall mindset of most people, even families. For me personally, I have family not wanting to deal with it. So when you have strangers, or not, they're a stranger to you, and they have no allegiance to you. Their allegiance is to that person that they have a day-to-day interaction with, which would, in your case, the state trooper. So they're going to protect their own.
Yeah.
In my case, my family, my abuser, my sexual abuser was my father. Same father as Michael Jordan, exact same parents, same DNA, same whatever. But coming at a time when nobody wanted to deal with it. They don't want to deal with it now, but surely not in a time back then when they wanted to deal with it. So they did what everybody normally do. We don't talk about it. And if you don't talk about it, you tend to think it's going to get better.
Certainly.
But, as a child, where you leave the child?
I'm going to move to this young lady here because she said something. Well, it's the same thing.
It's the same.
It's the same thing, but let's step into your case.
I also was abused by my husband, who was a Philadelphia police officer. Many police departments have no policies regarding officer-involved domestic violence, so the responding officers are free to use their decision how to handle a call. In my case, to keep me under control, he'd remind me I better not piss him off because my life's in his hands. Tell me if I can't have you, no one will. And since we took marriage vows, till death do us part, my only way out is for one of us to die. Leaving him was not an option for me. He convinced me he would find me wherever I am. If I did manage to get away, he would kill my children and my parents. He'd hurt anyone that helped me and say it was my fault that they got hurt. He said he'd never get caught since he knew just how to make me disappear without anyone being suspicious. This kept me from leaving him. I was terrified. And finally, after enduring years of abuse with no help from the police, since he was the police, I decided it was time to get a protection from abuse order against him. I tried a few other times, but I was also always too scared to follow through with it. Since he went to court all the time, as part of his job, he knew the bailiffs, he knew the clerks, he knew the prosecutor, he knew the judge. I was always reminded of his power being law enforcement. I did end up getting a protection order against my husband, figuring it was the only way for me to get the police's protection. But when he ignored it various times, with threatening and harassing me, the police still chose not to take any actions against him for violating the order. I want people to understand that Pennsylvania's Protection from Abuse Act states police shall arrest a defendant for violating a protection order, but the courts ruled the way this is phrased, it still leaves it up to the officer's discretion whether they choose to uphold it or not. It's a very dangerous time for a victim after they obtain a protection order, especially if your abuser is in law enforcement. My husband always threatened me that if he lost his job, then he'd have nothing to stop him from killing me. So on January 12th, 1999, my husband shot me and fatally shot himself. My children and I have since filed a suit against the Philadelphia Police Department for neglecting to protect us on many occasions. In September 2007, the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, which is right under the Supreme Court, ruled our rights were not violated because none of us have a constitutional right to protection. Many of us are under a false sense of security. We all need to know what our rights are, and we should be aware that we do not have the right to protection.
Oh, wait a minute. That's scary.
That is part of why I'm breaking my silence, in hopes of helping other abuse victims, especially if they are by the police, the very people sworn to uphold the law. The police are not above the law, but too often the officer goes unpunished.
Let me go back to the Third Circuit's ruling is that you really don't have a right to protection.
Not just me.
No.
All of us.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Everyone sitting in this room.
That's the point I'm raising.
It's all up to the police's discretion if they choose to provide you with protection. If your abuser is law enforcement, the choice probably is they are not going to provide you with protection.